Hello everyone, and welcome to another tutorial. Today we're gonna talk about Apache Tomcat and how you can actually configure everything regarding SSL. So we're gonna base everything on a SSL certificate. We're gonna see how we can change HTTP to HTTPS and what kind of security measures we can actually take after we install Apache. So first of all, what I'm gonna use, I will check if I actually have wget installed, which I have, and it's gonna be very handy for me. So next thing, we're gonna use actually wget to pull down JDK. So as you can see, I'm gonna pull down the newest JDK, which is 20. Since it's changing quite a lot, you need to go to this site, the usual Oracle download site, and just check which actual version of JDK is available to be downloaded. Okay, so this is gonna be .deb, so Debian distribution. I'm gonna pull this down. So like I said, I'm gonna base my Apache Tomcat installation on JDK 20, and we're gonna pull down after this the Apache Tomcat version 10.1.7. So we're gonna use the newer version, not the old one that is suggested on the internet, because I've read quite a lot about Apache and many people have said that it's best to use the older versions because they are more stable. Maybe they have like less errors or something, so quite a lot of people are actually using Apache 9 for Debian distributions, but I'm gonna just base everything on the 10 release, and actually it's almost the, I think, newest release, because if you actually visit the Tomcat website, you can see that the 10 release, at least now, has the newest version is 0.8, and we're gonna pull down 0.7 because when I tried to actually install everything on 0.8, it didn't work because it probably had some kind of issue, maybe during the download or maybe during the whole installation. But on the version 7, 10.1.7, there was no problem, so I'm gonna be using this one. Of course, some people also suggest that you should use Nginx, or you should download actual Apache server just to base everything upon them, but I'm not gonna use it in this tutorial. If you want, you can also install, let's say, Nginx and configure it so you can have your Apache Tomcat going through Nginx as well. But I think for the purpose of this tutorial it won't be needed. Okay, so the download is almost done. After that we're gonna install everything. Then we're gonna need to make a directory. I'm gonna base the installation on a directory that I choose, so I'm not gonna install everything on like a default directory for Tomcat. Okay, so the install is ready. We can install JDK. Of course, here the installation process is spitting out everything to the default paths. Okay, so I had this permission denied issue here, which I'm gonna resolve with sudo apt auto remove. And after that, when everything is cleaned, I'm just gonna check once again. And our JDK is installed already in the newest version, so we have the version 20 right now. Okay, so let's go to actually creating our directory. So the default directory is going to be based in opt tomcat. Then we're going to create a group. This is going to be called tomcat as well. And we're going to add a user named tomcat. Okay, and now we can actually pull down the Tomcat version that I was talking about. And as you can see, I am using the archive of Apache, because if you go straight to apache.org and you're gonna go to distributions and you're gonna go to Tomcat, you're gonna have the newest version, which is 10.1.8, which wasn't working for me, so I'm using the archive version. I'm gonna pull it down from here. After it's done, we're gonna unzip everything. And now we're gonna move the whole content of the folder to opt tomcat, because this is my main directory that I'm gonna be using. Now we need to actually set the permissions. We're gonna do a chown, and the permissions for this path is gonna be set to tomcat user. And now one of the most important things in all of this configuration of Tomcat, we're gonna create a service. So the main Tomcat service that's gonna be responsible for actually working here. Everything is based upon it, so I already have it prepared, and it's supposed to be looking something like this. So as you can see, I got the unit and it has description. So I got the Apache Tomcat from the 10 family, right? We have also Apache Tomcat 11, so this is based on 10. And of course, here we have the main service, and these are all the variables regarding the service. The most important variables that you need to actually look upon are this, because this is the main variable for Java Home. You need to change it directly. My JDK is here, is situated here, and the full path to my JDK looks like this. So remember, this is the main reason that your service might not start if you have this set wrong. So this is the first thing. Second thing, you should also check the PID, Tomcat PID. Okay, so what do we have? We have the user Tomcat, we have the group Tomcat included here as well. We got restart always, of course, for the service. So let's see. Now we're gonna save everything. We're gonna reload the daemons that are running on this server. Now we're gonna start the main service. And we're gonna, of course, enable the service. So now we can just take look at the status. Shows that everything is running fine. Now what we're gonna do a grep search for port 8080. So we're gonna just see that if it listens on port 8080, and we can see that everything is fine. This port is open, and here is our PID for our Apache right now. Okay, next thing, we're gonna go to OPT Tomcat conf to Tomcat users, because we're gonna set some stuff here. We're gonna go down to the end of this configuration file, and at the end of this file you can actually see some information about how you can set up particular users for different kind of for different parts of Apache Tomcat. So here you have role names and the passwords that are specified for those role names. So we're gonna do it a little bit differently. We're gonna compact everything into one line. Just gonna do it here. And just to show you how it actually looks, just gonna comment this stuff. It looks like this. So I'm setting a role name that is called admin GUI, because we want to go to the GUI. We got manager GUI. This is gonna be used as well. We got the manager, and of course we got the admin account here. Of course, user and username. So the main username is here. It's admin, right? The password is Tomcat password. And of course, the roles that are going to be authenticated by this username and the password are manager GUI, admin GUI, manager, and admin. So this is the easiest way to set it up. And it adds a little bit of security to our Apache as well. Next thing what we need to do, we're gonna visit again the OPT Tomcat, but this time we're gonna go to web apps. We're gonna go to the manager itself, because we're gonna use the manager as well, and we need to open context.xml file. Here we need to comment this volume. So this is the stuff that needs to be commented and it needs to be saved. Some people said that it's better to remove it, but I think that there is no point removing it when you just can comment it, and then it's skipped altogether either way. Okay, so now we're gonna go again to OPT Tomcat Web Apps, and we're gonna go now to Host Manager. Again, context.xml. We're gonna do the same for Host Manager. So we need to comment this, so it won't take part in the actual configuration process. Now what actually remains is just restarting Tomcat. Okay, so we can of course check if it's actually working how it's supposed to be working. So as you can see, I have here like the old instance of my Tomcat. And of course now we're gonna just check it out. We're gonna change this to port 8080. We're gonna change this to HTTP. There is our Tomcat, version 10.1.7. Of course, for now it's HTTP, so we haven't done anything to secure it yet. But we can already go to server status, manager app, and host manager because we have configured that just a moment before. So we can go to server status, admin, and here we are. So our inside server status. So we can go here, can do complete server status, check that out, list applications, can go back. We can of course go to the manager app as well, and the host manager. There we go, everything works fine. So you can use of course all of this now. Everything's secured with a password, so it's not like somebody can just push the button and it's gonna open without any reason. Okay, so now let's actually go to securing our Apache Tomcat with SSL certificate. Since I don't have a domain name that we can use, I'm gonna use self-signed certificate here. If you have a domain name, then you can actually use it, or even if you have bought an SSL certificate, it's even easier because the only thing you need to do right now, if you have a certificate, you need to put it to the key store, and after that you just need to choose the right connector. So first of all, let's create a self-signed certificate. So for me, of course, we need to first go to the directory of JDK. So we're gonna go to user lib jvm jdk20, and of course to the bin folder because that's where the key tool resides. So we can actually use key tool from here, and this is how the creation of the self-signed certificate looks like. So we are using the key tool to generate a key with an alias Tomcat. I'm gonna change that a little bit. Of course, RSA key, store pass. This is my store pass. I don't know, I can change it to something else. Let's say maybe say something like this. Then we have our like key pass, which I'm gonna make the same as a store pass. You can just switch it up if you want. Okay, then we have this key store. So key store, actually, here you have to set the full path of your key store. So mine is of course located in my main Tomcat configuration path, so which is opt tomcat conf. And here I'm gonna create a key store called Tomcat key store JKS. So the store type, and this is also quite important here. The default key store type depends mainly on the JDK version. The latest versions of Java, they create a EKCS12 type. However, the older ones, a JKS type. So Tomcat uses connectors to configure specific features. A connector represents an endpoint by which requests are received and responses are returned. And the default HTTP connector uses version HTTP 1.1 and listens on the port 8080, so this is what we have right now, right? But if the HTTPS protocol is being used, then it redirects to the port 8443. So for HTTPS, port 8443 is being used. Similarly, the secure HTTPS protocol should be configured via a connector. So at this point, of course, we are connecting SSL setup with a connector. And of course, Tomcat 10, so the one that I'm actually using right now, dropped support for SSL configuration attributes in the connector, so we have to define at least one SSL host config element, where we have also in this element we will also define at least one certificate. So I will show you in a moment how it looks in the config file when you actually create the connector. But the most important thing here is about store type. When you are creating store type, bear in mind that if you have not Java, but Tomcat version 10, the best store type is PKCS12. If you have older version, you can use JKS. So just bear in mind that this is quite important. Of course, here we are specifying things about the certificate. So first, of course, we get the CN, right? My CN is just Tomcat. If I had a domain name, let's say it would be called tomcat.debian.com or something like this, I would specify it here in the first attribute. Then we have the organizational unit, which is called just development. Then organization, which is called, for example, Help Debian, right, or something like this. Then we have, of course, the city. Then we have the state and the short name of the city. So I just chose Austin, Texas. Okay, so we can actually create this key store. So all of this is going to create a key store named Tomcat key store JKS. The key store type is going to be this one, so the specific one actually specified for Tomcat version 10. And of course, the Tomcat key store is going to have a store pass and a key pass, and it's going to create a self-signed certificate that's going to be implemented inside of this key store. So as we can see, we have generated a RSA key pair and a self-signed certificate. And all of this is valid for 90 days. Of course, you can specify this for like 300 and let's say 65 days, or you can specify it for even more days. So you can make it for a couple of years, of course, if you're making a self-signed certificate at this point. Since I didn't specify for how many days I wanted, and the default one was here for 90 days. Okay, so next thing we just gonna check. Well, as you can see, the key store didn't appear here in the bin folder. So I'm gonna do something like that. Since I'm using locate, I'm just gonna use locate. And there we go. The key store has been created, of course, in this path, so opt tomcat conf, so the one that we have specified here, so everything is fine. Alright, so actually after this I think we can go to the connector part. So for that we're just gonna change our path. We're gonna go to the configuration, and here we're gonna open server.xml, because that's the main file responsible for connectors. As you can see, I think that the stuff that you're not actually gonna use, it would be best just to dispose of it. So the connectors that you're not using, they should be disposed. So let's see what's configured here. So we have port 8080 on protocol HTTP 1.1, connection timeout, and we have a redirect set for port 8443. So this role is gonna work once we actually configure SSL. So I'm gonna leave this. And here is the place where we are gonna configure SSL, right? So I'm just gonna do it underneath here. Okay, we got the connector. So how does it actually look? It looks like this. So we have the connector, which is on the port 8443, of course. Max threads, you can change that even to 200. We got SSL enabled, which is true, of course. We got the schema, which is HTTPS, naturally. Of course, secure is true. And here we have this specific SSL host config, which I was talking about previously, that you need to specify because version 10 of Tomcat doesn't support some stuff anymore. So you have to specify the certificate as well. So we got the certificate key store file. So you need to specify where your key store is located. So of course mine in the conf folder. So I just put here conf slash and then of course the name of the key store. Then we have of course the certificate key store password. So I have to use the password here, which I'm gonna change because my password is different. Okay. Of course, if you want to add additional security here, additional maybe it's like a security tip, you can always, of course, hash this password. But if you actually took this phrase and hash it right now with SSH, then it wouldn't work because the password that was specified for the certificate, it was plain text and it was like this. So if you hashed this one right now, it wouldn't work. If you want a hashed password or a generated long password mixed, you need to actually input the password when you're generating the key store and the self-signed certificates. So in the previous thing that we did just now, not here. Okay, the tape is RSA, of course. And this is how the connector should look in order to have SSL enabled. I'm just gonna put this out here because I'm not gonna use it. And I think it's quite a good practice to make the configuration file as readable as possible, so you should just throw away all the stuff that you're not using. Which I'm gonna do right now. I'm gonna dispose of some Okay, I think that's better. Okay, so here we have another variable that is called host. Maybe I shouldn't call it a variable, maybe I should call it just a option. So this option, it's a host name. So the default host name, as you can see, it's localhost. So if you have like a domain name and you did the domain name in the certificate, you can always input it here as well. So you can change the localhost to the domain name that you have entered. So if I had, like I said previously, tomcat dot, let's say debian.com or debian.org or whatever, I could specify it here as well. But since I don't, because it's a self-signed certificate, I'm not gonna touch it. And basically this is how the configuration should look like. Now we need to, of course, restart our Tomcat. And we can just take a look at our status. So as you can see, everything is running, although it says that it's consuming quite a lot of CPU, of course. So okay, so now we need to, of course, open our Tomcat and we need to see if everything is working. So let's just do HTTP. Okay. Now let's see. So we got HTTPS here. So it's working, it's configured right now. Okay. Right, so what kind of security measures we can actually take in Apache Tomcat? Well, first of all, we should have a redirection working here, of course, because that's always one of the most important things to have. So let's see, because I think I have it in the connector. Because I still have HTTP here active. And here we have our redirection. So the port is 8080, protocol, connection timeout, redirect port, okay. Okay, so I think I'm gonna go back to it for now. Let's check something else, because, well, it is of course possible to steal or manipulate a web application session and cookies without having a secure cookie. it's a flag which is injected in the response header. This is done by adding a line in the session config section of the web.xml file. So just to actually secure HTTP here, we should go to our web.xml file. So first of all, we're gonna do XML, and here at the end we'll actually add this kind of cookie config security for HTTP. Sorry about that. Okay, so that's the first thing we're gonna do. Okay, let's now save it. Of course, we're gonna restart. And let's just quickly check everything is fine. Okay. The next thing, we can delete. We can remove the default unwanted applications. By default, Tomcat comes with some web applications. So we can check this out. Actually, I'm gonna use for that WinSCP. So I'm just gonna go straight into the server just to show you which applications you can actually take care of. Okay, so let's go. We are in OPT Tomcat right now, right? I'm gonna go to web apps, and as you can see, we get root manager, host manager, examples, and docs. Right? So the manager and host manager are here. We have the host manager and the manager app. Server status, probably root. Okay, we got some examples and docs. Docs are here, so if you go to the manager app, you got documents here and here, right? They are connected because we got here docs and we got docs here as well. Okay, so if we would like to actually secure something or just to delete something from here, let's say we won't use documents, all right? This documentation won't be used at all. So we can either just delete it or we can close it down. The same goes to examples. We can delete it or we can close it down. It's up to you how you want to set it up, or you can just grant permissions for those two folders to be accessed from the Tomcat. So they will be able, you will be able to open them from here, let's say, because you're basically able to open most of the stuff here anyway, because apart from this, because if I right now go to this manager, as you can see, the access is denied because I would have to go to the context.xml file and I have to change some kind of permissions to access those documents and examples. So in the documents, if we go here, we have of course some let's say additional information from Tomcat, right, that we can read about. Okay, so these are the web apps. So this is another security measure that you should be taken into consideration. Either close it down or delete it. Okay, next stuff, what we're gonna do is, well, you can actually shut down Tomcat instance and by doing a telnet to the IP address, well, to the IP port, and using just the shutdown command. So because it's actually specified in the server XML, so if you go here, you actually comment this stuff on, comment it out. Sorry. Here's the default port on which you can actually connect to any Tomcat instance, that because many Tomcat instances have this and people just don't change it, leave it on default, never go back to it because either they don't know about it or they just bluntly forget about this kind of stuff. So on this port I can connect to the instance and I can just do shutdown and it's gonna drop as a dead man with a bullet in his head. So better change it. So we can change this port to whatever kind of bogus port you want to change it to. Let's say I will change it to this one. And of course change the shutdown command to something else. So now nobody's shutting down this server that easy, because even if somebody guesses the port that you can actually connect to, he would have to guess the password. Okay, so we got this stuff done. So next thing, this is a little bit fun because you can actually replace all the default Irish sites. So if you want to, of course, you can change some different stuff about it, because as you can see, if we now go to, let's say here, we got access denied, right? We got all of those information nicely nicely set up for us here. But at the same time, if I would actually try to log into one of those panels and I would fail, I would probably get the 401 error message, and in the 401 error message you get a website that displays quite a lot of different information that is not needed to be displayed actually, because it can be a vulnerability to your Tomcat. So I suggest changing those default error pages to whatever you want, because it's just HTML, so you can throw in there whatever you would like to. So I have here like an easy HTML generator that I have. So I'm just gonna copy this and to of course change all of the error pages, which are three. By the way, it's 404, 403 and 500. I think 401 should be also there, but let's check. First let's go to web apps. I'm gonna go to documents. I'm gonna go to webinf JSP, and here we have the only error that is being displayed, so 403, the one that I showed you just now. So we're gonna just edit this stuff. You can play with it, you can just change it to whatever you would like to. I said I'm just gonna change it to something default. Now you're just gonna go here and let's see, and there we go. The same kind of stuff we we can go to examples, webinf, JSP. Once again, we got 403. We can edit this. Save it. Once again, reload. And there we go. Okay, so this is another security measure that you can take. Just scratch all of those error pages, or maybe I should paraphrase that. You don't scratch them, just change them and scratch all of the data that is not needed there. Okay, so one more thing. Let's go, let's say, to manager, and here we have like again webinf JSP, and here we have 401, 403, and 404 that we need to change, right? So same kind of stuff. Okay, so now another measure, security measure that we can take to force our web application to work with SSL. We will need to add some code to the web XML file again. Okay, so we'll go to our web XML file. We're gonna go at the end of this file, and after this cookie configuration, we're gonna add some security constraints. Which are gonna look something like this. Okay, so we got the web source collection, we got web source name, which is secured app. We got the URL pattern, so the URL pattern is set to star, so any page, any resource from your application is secured, and it can be only accessed with the HTTPS. The transport guarantee tag is set to confidential, as you can see here, but you can to make sure that your app will work on SSL, of course. But if you want to turn off SSL, you don't need to delete the code from WebXML. You just need to change the confidential to none, and then your application will be treated as it doesn't. Your pages are gonna be treated as they are not using SSL anymore. Okay, so we're gonna save this. We're gonna reload. Start. Gonna check, and at the end we're just gonna do. Let's go here, and as you can see, when I'm trying to go to on port 80 to HTTP, I'm being redirected to HTTPS immediately. So if I go to app manager, the same goes here. Should be for every site that is actually connected here. Exactly, everything is treated with SSL and HTTPS, and this is how it should be. Okay, so that's another thing regarding the security that you can use to secure your Apache Tomcat. Right, so I think I will actually conclude my video here. So I think I hope it will be helpful to many people that are actually struggling with setting up your own HTTPS and some security measures for Apache. These are not, I'm not calling these best practices because these are common practices, because usually best practices are just common practices because everybody are doing the same kind of stuff, or actually most of the stuff is being redone. So yeah, if you liked my video, like, subscribe, and of course if you feel like being a supporter, you can always go for it. And I will catch you in the next video. See you.